Welcome to the Voice of Business, sponsored by the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce, supporting the cities of Beverly, Danvers, Hamilton, and Wenham. The purpose of the Voice of Business show is to bring different topics related to the business community that would be of interest to them. And today, I'm joined with Garrett Glennon, who is with Workbar. Workbar is a new concept that's just entered our area here. It's a new facility opened up in Danvers. And Garrett, why don't you give us a little bit of background as to where you came from and how you got to be where you are?
Well, thanks for having me today, John. Workbar is a co-working company. We are a network of regional co-working spaces all throughout Massachusetts. We started in 2009 in our first location in downtown Boston, right next to South Station at 711 Atlantic Avenue. Started out as a little bit of an experiment, but we've grown to over 15 locations throughout the state and linking people of all different industries together with
maybe
workspace.
We just define for the audience what co-working means.
Sure. So co-working is a new flavor of shared office space. So shared office space is not anything new. It goes back many years with such companies like Regis and many other real estate providers. The difference with co-working is creating a communal atmosphere and bringing together people, a broad cross-section of people from different industries, different backgrounds, all different types of diversity, who come together and participate from a real estate perspective in some ways in the sharing economy.
So it's the sharing of the real estate, not so much sharing of what the businesses are doing or the individuals are doing?
Correct. So we have both individuals and teams of people within our spaces. And what they're doing is getting access to high-quality, tech-enabled real estate at a very affordable and flexible price.
Okay. So who are some of the competitors that you deal with?
Sure. There is a real industry leader out there right now. So co-working is a relatively new product, if you will, in the marketplace. We were pretty early in the game in 2009, and since our launch, there has been a company called WeWork that's based out of New York, but also has locations here in Massachusetts. That has really, with brute force, taken over the marketplace and raised quite a bit of money on most recently a $16 billion valuation.
So they're in Massachusetts. That's one of the major competitors that you're working to compete against, if you would.
Yes.
And how many locations do they have?
I believe they have about 50 locations worldwide.
Wow.
So the difference between Workbar and WeWork is really our approach to the marketplace. So most competitors, WeWork and others, are very urbanly focused in their approach. So I would classify it as urban and vertical, meaning they take over spaces typically in large high-rise buildings in downtown areas, usually take no less than 50,000 square feet, prefer to have somewhat upwards of 100,000 square feet of space.
Wow.
And create a concept similar to ours inside of their walls. The main difference between us is we take that 100,000 square feet, we squash it down and horizontally approach the market and spread our spaces in a hub and spoke strategy all around a region, knowing that people's relationships, both business and professional, and where their business takes them isn't always down to a centralized location. And for us to really disrupt the real estate industry, we feel it's important to not ask everybody to commute to a central location. These days, you can work basically anywhere for most jobs. Outside of manufacturing and things like that, most people can get their job done out of their briefcase.
Well, there's a picture of me floating around on a inflatable boat in the middle of Lake Ontario conducting a meeting on my cell phone with my dive suit on. So you can work just about anywhere, and that's a given in today's world.
Yeah.
Let's go back a little bit about how Workbar got started. Because
Sure.
when we talked earlier, you
Sure.
had kind of an interesting perspective. You kind of got into it, but really didn't plan to get into it, if I can make that, comment.
And that's sort of, for all the partners in the business, that it's sort of been an organic thing. So we can go back to the beginning. Our CEO and co-founder of the business, a man by the name of Bill Jacobson, who's really a thought leader in co-working nationally and internationally, speaks regularly at a variety of events around this topic. He is a tech entrepreneur by background, mechanical engineering degree out of the University of Michigan, had a couple successful startups which were sold, and in 2008 he was in the process of building another company. And he was subleasing from a tenant on Lincoln Street in the Leather District of Boston. If you recall, 2008, 2009, sort of a trying time economically.
It was.
And he showed up at the office one day, and he went from a subleaser to a squatter as the main tenant had folded overnight. Basically left him a note saying, "We took everything, including the internet. Here's a little bit of money. Good luck." And so he was faced with the dilemma. He had a team of, I believe, 8 or 10 people at that point in time. He really liked the location. And he had been to a few sort of early versions of what co-working has now become. There was a business that's no longer around. It's called Beta House in Central Square in Cambridge, that had that similar vibe. The problem there, it was really only focused on programmers, and typically male programmers. So there wasn't really a diverse demographic in the space. And so he started to really noodle on the idea of, can I fill this particular space with people within my own network that I know have a similar need to me, that want to have a downtown office, a location that they can go to, that they maybe can't afford on their own. So he approached the landlord of that building,
right,
and said, you know, there's this thing evolving right now. I'm not really sure what it is, but I'm fairly confident I can fill this place with some different furniture and a different type of customer and make the rent. And those real estate landlords gave him a shot at it, and it was very successful. He filled it up instantaneously, pretty much. Created an environment and an atmosphere within the space. Unbeknownst to Bill, those landlords kept the listing on the market. And in a very difficult real estate market in 2008, they were able to secure an above-market rate lease because of the environment that was created inside those walls. That led to the formal formation of a partnership between Bill and Ken and Richard Epstein, who are our other partners in Workbar. And so the location itself, the original location, really wasn't tailor-made for a co-working space. So they embarked on finding one and found 711 Atlantic Avenue, our original location, and set up shop as Workbar.
So who are the what's the demographics of the people that you're trying to get in there?
Yeah, so like I had mentioned before, we really attract quite a broad range of members. Oftentimes people hear co-working and they think of startups and they think of tech-focused people. And while we certainly have that represented in our space, our membership is roughly a third startups in all different life cycles, from bootstrap to funding. About a third small business or solopreneurs, and that could be lawyers, accountants, consultants. And then the other third is made up of medium and large size businesses who either have remote employees working in our spaces or have a headquarters outside of Massachusetts, and they have chosen Workbar as their base of operations in this market.
So you've got some very large organizations that may leverage that space.
Yeah, and so our average age is roughly 36, which sometimes is surprising to people. They think of it as sort of a younger, millennial-based offering. I think it's millennial in behavior in terms of how you work and what you deem to be how to be productive in your day.
Well, I think also too that the idea of the space for when you need it, if you would, is important, because a lot of business meetings right now, you know, for people that are sole entrepreneurs or maybe working out of their home or working remotely, you go to Panera's, you go to Starbucks, you can go to Dunkin' Donuts, you can go to various other places or restaurants, and the conversation there has got to be a little bit guarded, because you've got other people sitting next to you.
Tough to take a phone call.
And it being in your space over in Danvers there, that new space you opened up, you've got several conference rooms that you can work in.
Correct, yeah.
And the other aspect is that, you know, having some sense of being able to have a private location is important, I think, for...
Yes, and convenience is a big part of it too. So we're thrilled to be up here on the North Shore now. We just in the last few months have launched a collaboration with Staples, another large Massachusetts-based company.
So let's talk about the relationship with
Sure.
Staples, because I think that's an interesting perspective from my thought, is that if you need pads of paper, you need flip charts, you need whatever you need, it's right outside the door there. You just go and bring it in. But on the other hand, I mean, it's a space within that store. You're constricted to the store hours, but they're pretty generous store hours at this point.
They're open longer than you would think. So from Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 p.m.
Yeah.
And on the Saturdays, 9 to 9, and Sundays, 10 to 6. So it is a very accessible place in terms of getting into our space. It's a fully delineated environment. So we took roughly 3,000 square feet inside of the Staples store and constructed a Workbar with our full design concept and all the amenities and fixings of a high-quality office space. So for $130 a month and no long-term commitments, you have access to an office space that feels like you might be working at Google or Facebook. And that's really what we're trying to bring to the market, is an accessible, affordable access to high-quality workspaces all throughout a region for our members to access.
So let's talk about what some of that is,
Sure.
right? I mean, I know that there's internet. I know there's telephone. I know there's what you call it, a bottomless coffee.
Yes.
Coffee pot. So there's a kitchen, if you would, with it.
Yes,
And there's several conference rooms. But what other things, what other amenities have you put in there?
So really one of the problems we're trying to solve, when you think about the sharing economy and how it's evolved over the past, call it 10 to 15 years, it's never really been applied to real estate, right? So if I could just take a step back and talk about that for a minute. Real estate is still, commercial real estate in particular, is still stuck in a process that can be very difficult for somebody who has an office space need. So you have to deal with a broker. You have to come up with multiple months of security deposit. You have to commit to long terms in terms of years. And then you have to deal with, how do you get your office functional? How do you get the internet in there? Do you offer coffee to your employees? Do you want a kitchen in your space? Is the bathroom inside your walls or outside of your walls? These are all decisions that a potential tenant has to make.
Right.
And so at Workbar, we try to make that as seamless and turnkey of an experience as possible. So if you were to come to our space and take a tour, literally that day you can sit down, be onboarded, and have everything you need functionally ready for you to be productive.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. So that goes from internet access to copy and print services to, as you mentioned, bottomless coffee, tea, and snacks. Anything that you would expect a high-quality employer to provide, we provide that to our members. And on top of that, we create a community of like-minded professionals, and we support that through member programming in the event, in the form of events, in the form that are either business, either workshops or panel discussions, and social events for people to connect on a personal level as well. and it's supported by a technology product that we've created, a proprietary software product that we call WOBI. That connects.
So you call it what?
WOBI.
WOBI.
It's an acronym for Workbar Backend.
Okay.
And what that is a fully integrated platform that connects all of our physical locations digitally. It's somewhere in between a Facebook and a LinkedIn. We like to call it LinkedIn meets the water cooler.
So that that allows me to work in different locations. So if I'm up in Danvers and I want to stop by and do my work there, or if I want to go into Boston, I can work there, and it can be somewhat seamless.
Correct. So our if you join Workbar, if you join one space, one location, you join them all. You get you get access to all locations. The access is really just determined on what type of membership you want, and we have the ability to customize memberships for as low as $30 a month, all the way up to $700-800 a month for a private office downtown. But yes, you get a full access to all of our spaces, and the technology product allows you to show up at any location on your first time and have the same experience that you have at the location you frequent the most.
So let's talk about printing for a minute, because I would think that's something people could abuse.
Sure. So it's integrated into the software as well. So everybody gets 100 black and white free copies a month.
Okay.
So, you know, that for today's age where people are moving more and more away from paper, that's more than enough for most members. Some of our members, however, do have some heavy printing needs, and we charge them as they go. And the other benefit of the relationship with Staples is you have the option to become their highest level rewards member by being a Workbar member.
Oh, okay.
So you have the ability to sign up for their Premier Rewards program, which gives you 5% off the top of all your purchases, from pads of paper to candy bars to their very, very impressive, which was I did not know about until we started this relationship, their copy and print services, which are excellent.
Yeah, I've used those several times in the past, and have had
they've got me out of a couple jams for last-minute banner printing and posters for events and things like that.
They do that. So, but they're equipped to do that, and that's the key thing.
So you essentially, either within the store or at an even more technical level, get access to a reprographics lab.
So it sounds like a pretty good symbiotic relationship.
It has been, yeah.
So how many Staples stores have you put a Workbar in?
We opened in September with 3 stores roughly around the 128 corridor. So Danvers, Norwood, south of the city, southwest of the city, and Brighton in their original store, which was a good win for both sides, because that's where it all started for Staples. And as they continue to innovate as a large publicly traded organization, it was important to have Workbar as a symbol of that innovation in store number 1 for them.
Right. Good. Good. Well, why don't you talk about some of the locations that you have? You've got a chart here that we'll try to show.
Sure. Yeah. So here is a bit of an artistic representation of our locations. So we are currently located all throughout Massachusetts. So from as far north as Lowell, as far south as New Bedford, as far west as Amherst, and many spots in between. We have Workbar or Workbar partner locations throughout the state, which are generally speaking 15 to 20 minutes. Within 15 to 20 minutes, you can find a Workbar to be productive or attend an event.
Now, you mentioned, I think in some of the discussions we had earlier, that you've got something at the University of Lowell. Did I have that
Yes.
right?
So our technology product allows us to have a unique approach to partnerships within the co-working industry. So we have a variety of partners, some in the shape or in the form of educational partners like UMass Lowell and Framingham State. Some are other independent co-working brands like Workstation in Cohasset, Fields Corner Business Lab in Dorchester, Amherst Works in Amherst, Groundworks in New Bedford are a couple of examples of that. And also we run and program manage innovation spaces for large companies like Mullen Advertising and Digital Credit Union. And so what happens is we license our technology to them. It helps them run the space, both from a front-end membership management, where their members can build profiles, talk about their interests, both business and social interests, advertise their businesses, participate in online discussions that are curated and protected, so it's a members-only access. It also helps them with running all the utility functions of the space, booking conference rooms, paying your bill, getting your invoice, things like that. And on the back end, it's an MIS system. So it can show you who's showing up in the space. It's all integrated through Wi-Fi and door key fob technology. So it can show you usage patterns and help you also with, it's an integrated payment platform. So about 98, 99% of our customers pay by credit card on a recur basis.
Sure.
And so not only do they get that tool to help them run their spaces, but they also get physical reciprocity to the other Workbar and Workbar network partner locations.
Okay.
So through that approach, we've been able to create a really strong network throughout the region.
So it's bigger than 15 locations.
We're currently at 17 locations.
How many?
17.
17.
Yeah, and hope to be adding a couple more in the next month or two.
But does that include places like University of Lowell?
It does. It does. So there are currently 7 branded Workbar locations.
Okay, but what's the advantage of going to University of Lowell or
Sure.
Because I mean they've got their own IT department.
Sure, yeah. So there's sort of some mutually beneficial relationship here. So for Lowell, for example, it gives them an access point into the urban areas where innovation is also happening.
Okay.
So they have a mission to bring innovation to Merrimack Valley, but some of that is going to be driven from Cambridge or Boston, and their members are going to want to occasionally get down there because they're hosting meetings or just have a need to be in the city, so they want a place that they can be when they're downtown. From Workbar's perspective, it's really, we're collaborative by nature, and it's a way for us to expand the value of our membership offering, similar to UMass Lowell, in the sense that we can grant access and gain access for our members to other markets that we might not have planted our own flag in. So it's a little bit of a capital efficient way to expand our network and our brand.
All right. So Massachusetts today. What's next after that?
It's a little to be determined at the moment, but we see multiple markets on the horizon, multiple additional markets outside of New England on the horizon. So it's an exciting industry to be part of right now. There are a lot of strong local brands in most major metropolitan areas across the United States, even across the world at this point. But we are the only ones approaching a hub and spoke strategy of both urban and suburban regional coverage.
Okay, so let's talk about the hub and spoke and how you play that out.
So our view is, if you are traveling and you're on a business trip, you're typically there for a purpose. You're on a mission, you have a meeting, you have people to get in front of, and then you come home. But when you're in your own region, you tend to have relationships with folks that live both near you and in your general vicinity. So I have business relationships, business associations with people on the North Shore, on the South Shore, and in the western part of the state. So our hub and spoke strategy is to create a broad-based regional community of professionals from all different industries to be able to collaborate under an umbrella. And that does not necessarily mean that they're doing business together, but many academic research studies have shown that it's very easy to meet people in your own industry, it's very easy to meet people in your own company, but it's somewhat difficult to meet folks outside of your industry or your company, and it's when two folks come together from different perspectives and different backgrounds and start sharing ideas
Right.
and have that bump factor. That's really where innovation happens, and that's sort of the spirit of the Workbar Network hub and spokes approach, is to gather people from a broad community and give them the opportunity to connect.
In your software, you're getting a profile,
Correct.
which is accessible to other members?
It's a members-only platform,
Okay,
yes.
so they can see who these members are, and if they're selling insurance, so they're doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah, so you have the ability to
real
build
estate.
and create a profile.
Yep.
We ask a fluid series of questions always and it's purely participatory. We
Sure.
don't require it of our members, but the vast majority of them are attracted to this function. So you build a profile and you can list your skills, for instance. You can also list the skills you're interested in acquiring, or projects that you might be able to help somebody on. So it is not uncommon, in fact, it's already happened twice this morning, where somebody goes into a discussion forum and says, I have project X, Y, and Z, I'm looking for a digital marketer, could somebody help me?
Sure.
And it's sort of a pre-curated set of responses coming from people that you have a certain level of comfort with, because everybody has it's a digital world, everybody has digital connections, but there's business, and no matter how digital we get, business is always going to be done in some degree.
I mean, it has to be that.
Face to face.
I would think that, again, your community that you've built with the Workbar, and how many members right now?
We are approaching 1,600 members.
1,600. Okay, so of those 1,600 members, a pretty wide variety of people with skills and things like that.
Yeah, so you're, as we touched on a little earlier, you're as likely to find 2 coders fresh out of MIT with a startup as you are to find someone with 30 years experience of IP law. And so that in itself is sort of an interesting combination.
Sure.
And if they were both operating in silos, they might not have the ability to work together.
Right, and I think also with the decentralization of office space. I mean, I know when I first started in business, I had my own office. We had a large number of offices. That's the way it was set up, and then we went to cubicles.
Sure.
And then we went to hoteling.
Sure. Yeah.
And then we went to go work at home. And all of those had some different benefits and different issues, different control considerations on it. So, I mean, I think what you've got is a place that you can leverage some of the ability to be able to work remotely,
Absolutely.
but still have a community that you're working with.
Absolutely.
I think that's important. So let's talk a little bit about some of your closing thoughts in terms of where do you see this going from here?
So we really, our vision is to be the premier provider of high quality, accessible regional office space. So we intend on bringing our hub and spoke strategy to the country. And rolling it out in part with Staples and in part on our own, where we provide professionals with accessibility and community at a very affordable price.
Great. So how do we get in touch with you if someone's interested?
So our website is workbar.com. You can always reach out to me directly. It's jared@workbar.com, and that's spelled Jarrad. There are individual location subpages on our website, so you can always find more information on what's closest to you, but always keep in mind that you have the ability to explore and see all of our various locations.
Well, good. Well, I appreciate your time this morning, this in the busy holiday season, if you would, taking the time here to talk to us on the Voice of Business. So I want to just kind of close with a couple thoughts, and one is that the Voice of Business got started about 18 months, almost 2 years ago, and we were focusing on really keeping it local and keeping local purchases of the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce community. So one of the things that I would encourage you to do as you're doing your holiday shopping, to think about purchasing within the local community here. Further, I've got a couple shows coming up that could be interesting. One was on communications, which we'll look to air in the new year, and also a risk avoidance through the annual insurance review, which is another topic. We'll close on that. So in closing, If you have any comments or requests on a topic that you'd like to explore, please send that request to me at John King. And my email address is jking@headwaystrategiesconsulting.com. And if you can send that to me, that'd be great. I'll look forward to putting in another show. And with that, we thank you for listening to The Voice of Business, and have a good day.